Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Thursday, the 29th of January, which means it is match day as Rangers round off the Europa League campaign away to Porto. And Joshua is live from his hotel room in Porto as we speak. And he joins us on the video this morning. How goes it, Joshua?
Good. I was saying to you just before we came on that it is still chucking it down in Porto, and I also got kept up because whoever is in the hotel, if anyone is in room 505 and was singing Danny Rohl songs at 1:30, it's a good song, but save it for tonight. So I've literally been dreaming of Rangers, Derek. But apart from that, all good, mate. You? All well?
I feel like we should get the guys from room 505 on the show.
I know.
That is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. Am I looking forward to tonight? Probably more so than I was earlier on in the campaign. It's a big test. I think probably the best team that Danny Rohl's faced as Rangers head coach at this point. I don't think that's unfair to say that. This is a good side Rangers are going up against it this evening, so it'll be interesting to see. Well, first of all, what team is selected, because he only has so many players available, and how they get on against a team that is bang in form. They don't lose many goals. They've only lost one game this season, Europa League away to Nottingham Forest, and they've got the carrot of making it into the top 8 and avoiding a playoff tonight. So I imagine they'll be playing a strong side tonight. But before we get stuck into that, what Daniel Rohl had to say in his pre-match press conference, what Francisco Farioli had to say as well in his pre-match press conference. A quick word for our podcast sponsors, Willows Fencing, the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust and proud partners of the Rangers Review. If you're needing a new fence, these are the guys to call, folks. No job is too big or too small. You get free consultations and 10% off with the code Rangers Review over on their website, which is willows-fencing.com. Interestingly, in terms of the coefficient, last night was the last remaining Champions League group stage matches, Joshua, and there was an interest on the Ajax Olympiacos match because Olympiacos were hovering over Rangers with regards to points, and if they won the match in Amsterdam last night, they would go past Rangers, and Rangers unable to catch them, which basically means, folks, that if Rangers do win the league title, they will not gain automatic entry to the Champions League group stage if Olympiacos win the Greek Super League. Now, they're 2 points behind AEK Athens at this point in time, but I think they've got a game in hand. It's pretty tight at the top over there, so we very much want AEK Athens to win that title. But that is a bit of a hammer blow, Joshua. Olympiacos win. I know Ajax aren't in great shape at this point in time, but not the best of results last night for Rangers.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. Firstly, I don't know if you were watching the Champions League, the Benfica game last night.
The goalie.
Yeah, we were watching that in a bar, and admittedly Porto, so I don't know how many Benfica fans were there, but in Portugal, one of the most insane. So basically, Benfica needed a goal to get into the top 24. Madrid went down to 9 men in their usual acts of petulance and self-centeredism. And the goalie gets set up. Mourinho sends his goalie up, who scores a header with the last kick of the ball.
Header.
I'm sure everyone has seen it, but it is a genuine football heritage moment. So yes. That was fun. Now back to the coefficient. Yeah, it is a blow. Obviously, a lot still has to fall into place there. Rangers still have to win the title. Yeah, there's a long way to go for that. And as you say, if Olympiacos weren't to win and Rangers were to win, they would still get automatic entry. I think tonight still matters because you want to keep as much distance between the team behind you, and that's Shakhtar, who I think are in the Conference League, if I'm right in saying that. But yeah, a bit of a blow because you looked at that game away from home and you thought it's a difficult tie for Olympiacos to get through. I just think it's a long way away to have that type of have that type of conversation. But there's no doubt, as we've spoken about a lot yesterday, we'll maybe speak about again in regards to this transfer window. It feels as if Rangers have taken their player trading hat off and put their "we want the Champions League and league titles" hat on. And this does throw a bit of a spanner in the works. I don't think it will decentify them. And I think tonight will be really difficult because Porto have only lost twice in all competitions. They've won 18 of 19 in the league. As you say, they have that incentive of they need to win. Danny Rohl spoke about a little bit of rotation. I don't know how much he can rotate, Derek, because I was looking at that squad list. You know, Nadim Barami isn't in the squad, for example. The three new signings aren't in the squad. Dujon Sterling is training today, but isn't available tonight. John Suter has travelled, which is a positive. But you've not got an array of changes that you can make. So I think it's going to be really difficult for Rangers to keep this winning run going. And I think it's about trying to get out of here with the type of performance that doesn't stunt too much momentum. But I don't think. Come back to me if this is a heavy defeat tonight. I don't think it will be because Rohl's team have tended to keep not concede that many opportunities. The Hibs game just is so much bigger than this. So I think it's about getting through tonight, a little bit of rotation, and the coefficient, the fact that you can't overtake Olympiacos is unfortunate, but again, maybe it just decreases the importance of tonight somewhat with Sunday on the horizon.
Yeah, just go out and win the league title, I think, Rangers, and we'll concentrate on what is in store after that. Big thank you, incidentally, to Kimberly, who's very kindly donated 5 Rangers Review memberships on the channel. That is very kind of you, Kimberly. Thank you for that. Right, let's get to, like you say, Danny Rohl speaking yesterday, and the big, obviously, a few days away before the transfer window slams shut, as they say. There's a lot of noise doing the rounds with regards to outgoings, incomings. He wouldn't be drawing on Ryan Nadiri, the Hansa Rostock players. He says, I won't speak about players from other clubs today, but we've got a little clip of Danny Rohl. Joshua, don't remember when you went to speak to him yesterday, just talking on the subject of transfers. So here he is.
The positive thing that other clubs are interested in our players. This is always also a part. On the other side, we are very clear. I think we will keep our best players. We have big goals this season. We are in 2 competitions and we need our best players. I think we spoke about we want to strengthen our squad and not make it weaker. And then we are very clear what we want to do.
How many more players do you think you see coming in before Monday night?
I think the numbers. I have my number in the head. I think this is the most important. Andrew knows it. The recruitment knows it. I think this is clear. And then, the next 3-4 days will be a little bit crazy. Some moments you think you have a yes, then maybe not. But all in all, I think at the end of the window we should have a good number of players. They are ready for the second half of the season.
There you go. That is Danny Rohl, Joshua. The first part of that question, of course, talking about the bids for Jedi Gassama and Yusuf Chermiti. Rangers holding on to those 2 players. Incidentally, Chermiti available for tonight. Who knows? On his return to Portugal, we might see a Chermiti masterclass tonight. I very much hope we do. Whether he starts the game or not, I'm not entirely sure. But what do you make of what Danny Rohl had to say there? And with regards to incomings, Joshua, you expecting maybe a few new faces before Monday evening?
I'm not sure about a few, but Rohl's answer there, the second part of the question, I noticed when I checked my Twitter this morning, it got quite a lot of people excited when he said, I have a number in my head and I expect a crazy last few days. So
yeah,
I don't know, reading between the lines, I don't think he would be, I don't think his ideal is only getting 1 player in. I think, as we've discussed for quite a while, the midfield needs another profile, but also needs a bit of cover. Something we've spoken about a lot in regards to transfers, so apologies if we're repeating this point, but I think it's probably quite useful, is that, you know, the start of the window was about getting these 3 players in who'd been worked on for quite a period of time, which is why they were done by January 14th. To get 3 players in by that point is pretty good. It gets them fit. It means they've played against, you know, Annan or Dundee at the weekend. But the second half of the window was then going to be more looking at targets and looking at what can be done. And Ryan Nadiri comes into that. I think he is a player that Rangers will sign at some point, whether it be January or the summer. And I think it could well be January if Rostock get a striker in. As of yesterday, when we were speaking on the briefing, when we put our transfer update, the clubs are still apart on valuation. And I think the sticking point probably for Rangers there is you don't want to spend too much on a player who, yes, is going to contribute, but probably isn't going to be your main striker. And like, I guess, a Chukwueze or even a Romans to a degree, is also being brought in for what they can do in the future as well as now. Skov Olsen is different to that. So then maybe do you see Rangers go and do another loan with a slightly more experienced striker and then they go back in for Nadiri in the summer? I think a lot depends on the German club. I think it's improbable that Rangers go a little bit higher than that €3 million threshold. And as I say, if you were to ask me now, do I think he will be a Rangers player? Yes, at some point, but I wouldn't be confident enough to predict whether that's going to be the summer or January. I think he looks like a really interesting profile.
Yep.
But again, the question is, what type of impact do Rangers think he can make between now and the end of the season, and what type of money are they willing to spend on that? So, yeah, crazy next few days. I think that also speaks to the fact that this last part of the window is more about reacting and going to different targets. And I think, when Chris reported about Nadiri when it first broke in Germany, he said that, listen, this isn't the only striker that Rangers are working on at this moment in time, because at this point in the window, you need to have backups. It's maybe slightly different to Skov Olsen earlier in the window when you've got the time to really commit to it. And that's why I think that, when we're speaking about Oliver Antman or other players as well, when Johnny and I are disagreeing about how many players you can get out and in, I think there's just an extent to what you can do at this point in the window, and probably if you want to keep your work high quality, you don't want to go and do 3-4 deals and do a winger on the side, a deal for a winger on the side while you're trying to get the striking position right. I think Rangers really need to nail what they're doing up top. As I say, maybe it's Nadiri now, maybe it's Nadiri in the summer with a loan, and then you maybe move him on for Majovski on for his place in the squad. I don't know. And then there's a question of, can you get is there a midfielder available late in the window who can supplement your squad? Rangers still have those loan places, as we understand it, because of the under-21 rule in regards to Moore and Magoma, because they're domestic loans. So they have a bit of flexibility.
Okay.
And yeah, they I think a crazy few days. Let's see what that brings, and then we can all have a lie down on Tuesday, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully it's a crazy final few hours, so it's an exciting show when we're on, because we're planning another headline day show. So, usually these have been sort of long drawn out shows with very little to talk about, but hopefully there's madness going on for that one as I look out my yellow tie. Incidentally, if anyone from Hansa Rostock is watching this, take the money and Rangers, let's take the money, and we'll have a friendly over there, and you can take a lot of money from Rangers fans heading over. That would be a good old away day. Good relationship between the two clubs. Good old historic club on Germany, Hansa Rostock. So yeah, very much would love to go over there and experience a match against Rangers. But there you go. Right, there's a point I wanted to bring up as well. You mentioned there about the players. He only has obviously with the European squad, no Andreas Skov Olsen. No, Chukwueze. I said yesterday as well, you mentioned Dujon Sterling, of course, it will train tomorrow. Well, that means today. Danilo is not with us as he is expecting a baby. When he said that, I just thought of the Roy Keane clip when he was asked when he was at the Republic of Ireland about a player. I can't imagine who it was, but it says, well, he's not having the baby, is he? So as long as he's not breastfeeding, he should be all right. So yeah, he should be. He won't be part of the squad. Now, of course, we know that Papos are looking to sign him, Joshua. Interestingly, they were in action last night. Boys got an absolute beauty against Slavia Prague last night. I think that would be a good move for Danilo, but no update on that as we speak, but I very much expect him to go if he doesn't play. Well, he's not going to play tonight. I doubt he'll play on Sunday. Probably seen the last of him. I think Ibrox may have been his farewell game.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. And again, another thing that Rohl mentioned, which is just that it's hard to get away from how different the tone is from previous transfer windows, because Rangers are really speaking about player trading mattering, but almost kind of taking a back seat for now, and basically saying we don't really need to sell before we can before we can buy. So I think that the back end of that would be if you're Danilo and Rangers bring in another striker and your fourth choice, you probably want to go and play some football elsewhere. I'm not sure if he's as keen on a move to Paphos as he would be to go back to the Netherlands, which is obviously where he'd, spent a lot of time in his life. Made his name. But as of yet, I don't think there's been an official bid from NEC. No doubt there's been some contact between his people and the club, but I'm not sure on that. I am speculating. But yeah, Paphos are in the Champions League team this season. I guess the question is whether he wants to go back to familiar surroundings or try something new. Joe Rothwell also hasn't travelled. I think the state of play with him has been the same right throughout the window, Derek, that Rangers will sell him if and when a bid comes in, but it's just not materialised. And I think, again, it's quite common that if clubs know that the team is under pressure to sell, it's quite common that it's drawn out and you get a little bit of money off because you do it late on in the windows. So I think it's about waiting for that championship bidder to come in. And as you say, there's not a ton of rotation options. Finlay Curtis, we still expect is going to join Kilmarnock, but that was one that was perhaps delayed until after the European games. I'd give him a run out tonight. I'd definitely give Oliver Antman a run out.
Yep.
Aside from that, you've not got much you can do in central midfield. Diamandi and Raskin are going to have to play. You maybe bring Suter back in. You maybe want to keep him fresh for Hibs at the weekend.
I'm not. Giga and Fernandez for me.
Giga and Fernandez. You're going to play Max Aarons over Tavernier. He did the press yesterday. Ngoma has to play at left back. I'd rest Mikey Moore. I think he looked like a man who had done a lot of running by the weekend. So you're probably talking about Gassama off the left and Antman off the right. So there's no one you're looking at and you're thinking, he's not, apart from Antman maybe, there's not a ton of players who are going to be given chances because just the nature of the European squad and the likes of, Sterling and Danilo and Rothwell who are in the squad but aren't here, not being available to play this game.
Yeah, and then it's obviously the choice who leads the line. Do you throw Chermiti in? I would probably be inclined to keep him for Hibs. I know he's been preferred mainly in Europe, although Miovski got the nod away to Ferencvaros. I would, given that the way the game might pan out, Porto are going to have the majority of possession. Rangers, I'd imagine, will just look to hit on the counter. Miovski might be the man tonight. Joshua, do you reckon?
Something that I think has been a little bit lost in the Chermiti conversation. I know me and Johnny went on about it for ages yesterday. I think Rangers have played a lot better with him in the team in the last few months.
Yeah.
Or maybe even couple of months, because I think he occupies defences more. And sometimes what happens, not always, but sometimes I think what happens with Chermiti is you see that teams don't want to go one-on-one against him because of his size and physicality. So they keep an extra 2 defenders on him, which gives you a little bit more space to play out. Now, that's not something he's doing directly, but I just think his presence is a bit more effective to get Rangers up the pitch, because you can see it far enough tonight. Porto, they are really going to pop it about. This is a team, as I say, who've only lost 2 games all season, and Farioli, who, if we can discuss before the end of the show, I'd like, because it's to my great regret that he has not managed Rangers to this point. But
you're not alone.
I think you can see it far enough that Rangers might struggle to get up the pitch if it's not Chermiti, because I think Miovski, the difficulty he's had is, yes, he's better playing into space, but maybe still when he's facing the goal as opposed to with his back to goal. So I'd be tempted to give Chermiti 60 minutes. He didn't play at the weekend. Give him 60 minutes and then keep him fresh to definitely start at Easter Road on Sunday.
Okay. Just when you mentioned Farioli, of course, he conducted his press conference yesterday and he revealed that he held talks with Ross Wilson and Rangers previously about managerial vacancies. He's been linked to the club, I think, before Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was appointed, and certainly before Michael Beale was appointed. Went to Ajax, done a great job there, and then resigned. A bit of a fallout with the hierarchy at Ajax, and then appointed at Porto. And speaking to Kevin Fernandez yesterday, the boy that covers Portuguese football in great detail, he says he's revolutionised Porto. They're a much better team now than they were in the last few seasons. They're aggressive, and as the results suggest, he has got them bubbling away nicely. This guy gets something about him, Francisco Farioli, Joshua.
Yeah, well, and he
assisted
also
by
held
Dave Voss too.
Yeah, I know, who spoke to in the Rangers review before. Great guy, Dave Voss. But Farioli actually had was gleaning a little bit this yesterday. I think it was reported in the Herald in the summer, but held talks as well earlier this year with before he went to Porto. I don't think it got that far, and that's what he said in his press conference yesterday. That he did come. The closest he came was during Ross Wilson's time at the club. I think he was interviewed before Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, maybe came closer the year after. He was still in Turkey at that point. I think he was the youngest manager in Europe at 30 or 31 or something like that. Nice. Former goalkeeper coach of Roberto De Zerbi. One for the football purists. I think that again, his football, as we've learned from this season, might have not been the neatest cultural fit at Ibrox, but he can't really. I know he lost the league title with Ajax, but he's 36. He's now managed Nice and Ajax and Porto. Very engaging and courteous guy in his press conference. So yeah, he kind of insinuated that my path hasn't led me there. You never know, maybe one day, etc., etc. And very complimentary of Danny Rohl. He was basically saying, look, this guy's not had a pre-season. But he's managed to implement two systems with the back three and the back four, and on the ball he's managed to kind of implement a few different structures as well. And just saying that speaks to his level as a coach, that he can kind of not that he's getting results, but he's managed to implement some of his ideas mid-season. So very complimentary of him. And yeah, but Blair and I are going to record our Saturday show, I think today or tomorrow, and we're actually going to speak about that, like what is Rohl's philosophy, idea, that buzzword, like how much is that changing in football? What have we learned about it? Hopefully it's more interesting than I've just made it sound. But
I don't give a job. I don't care about philosophies and all that.
But everyone has one. You have if you manage a team, you'd have one.
Well, look at it this way. If you talk about philosophy, I immediately think of guys like Pep Guardiola.
Who's been the most successful manager in 15 years and has constantly changed. Yeah,
but I don't. Philosophy is bandied around willy-nilly these days in football. All I want is a manager that wins football matches, and Daniel Rohl is doing that. Give me that over a philosophy manager, a Russell Martin, any day of the week.
I totally agree.
He doesn't have a philosophy, does he?
Who, Rohl?
Yeah, winning football.
Of course he does. But he has a way he does it. So I think the biggest lesson from Rohl so far, and this is why he's done so much better than Martin, is that football managers are salesmen. They're salesmen to the players, to the board, and to the supporters. So you got to buy into what they're doing. So of course, Rohl, speaking to people that have worked with him as well, the detail that he will go into is minutiae, but his philosophy is clearly broader. So he wants to have two. It's not dogmatic. So he wants to have two formations all the time, so he can be unpredictable. He'll react a bit more to the opposition. He wants his team to play with intensity, but he'll compromise more. Whereas Martin's philosophy is really narrow and dogmatic. So I just think philosophy actually is what's the boundaries that a manager makes decisions within. And this is why I know Johnny kept calling Martin a pound shop Pep. But the thing with Guardiola, Derek, is he's now playing like transitional football, and he's playing Donnarumma and Haaland, whereas a few years ago it was Ederson and Bernardo Silva's to basically play with 11 outfielders. So I think Rohl, of course, 100% he does, but it's how there's a sliding scale of whether dogmatism works or it doesn't, and it's definitely went more to the no, it doesn't in the last couple of years. You see that with the Premier League, with the physicality of it, but also what Rohl has done so well is he's just been an effective politician. You think back to like the opening day of the season against Motherwell. See if Russell Martin when Rangers were away in Panathinaikos when they were protecting a lead, he went to a back five. He didn't want to do that domestically. And that day against Motherwell, see if he'd went to the back five and he'd seen the game out, no one would have cared about the performance. No one, because Rangers would have won. Whereas I think Rohl's philosophy, or his what guides him, allows him to be more. He's not confined to it needs to look like this. So we're going to spend half an hour trying to make that point more eloquently.
Well,
you can tune in.
Russell Martin said it earlier on in the season saying that I want to win games a certain way, which, I mean, I was thinking, really? We don't need that. We don't need that.
Yeah, and I think football is...
Just win.
I think, yeah, but you've got to win somehow. So Danny Rohl doesn't say to his team, like tonight when he's going to Porto, he doesn't just go out and say, guys, go and get a 1-1 draw. Just do it. He says, this is how we're going to play. We're going to leave a +1 at the back. We're going to press him like this. And then when we're on the ball, he'll probably say, you don't need to play through the thirds all the time. Or when you're, as Rangers did in Bruges, you don't need to play through the thirds with 10 men when you're being actually bullied in that first half. Because his philosophy is, what more sensible, it's wider. He still has an idea of how he wants to play football. I just think what he's done so well and so effectively is he's been an effective salesman, and he's got people on the journey with him. Whereas I feel like Russell Martin from the start was kind of like, this is how I'm going to do it, and you've got to get on board. Yeah. And unless you're absolutely perfect with it, that is so difficult to make it work.
Which was his downfall, of course. Certainly was not the guy that Rangers required at that point in time. I still hark back, if Rangers appointed Danny Rohl in the summer, things would be looking far rosier than they are at this point in time. But they are in the title race. And of course, as you touched on quite rightly, Hibs is huge at the weekend. The bigger game of the two for that is a definite. Other bit of news away from tonight's game, Scottish Cup news, folks. And Rangers will not face Stranraer in the 5th round of the Scottish Cup. They have been kicked out of the competition for fielding an ineligible player, Hearts loanee Lyndon Tass, when they made it through to the 5th round to play against Rangers. The SFA met yesterday and they decided to dismiss Stranraer from the competition. So Queen's Park will be coming to Ibrox once again. So let's hope that the lightning doesn't strike twice and they win again at Ibrox. That was really the death knell for Philip Clement last season. There was no way he was recovering from that. I think he'll never get sacked immediately after that game. But that was pretty much it for him. I can't see the mighty Spiders winning again at Ibrox. Joshua, can you?
No, I'm banned from saying the word. I'm banned from saying the word nadir by viewers in the Rangers review, but it's because there's been so many. Queen's Park and Bruges in the space of 6 months. That game, I was sitting next to a friend of the show, Martin Ramsey, on that game on that day, and it got to like 60 minutes, and we started, and it was him, it wasn't me. So he jinxed it. He started to talk about where this would rank in terms of historic. He's a historian. Where this would rank in historic defeats for Rangers of Queen's Park, because it just had that feel to it, and it was a quite unbelievable day, made worse by some of the post-match commentary about how many shots Rangers had, and I think Patrick Stewart came out and did a less than compelling interview soon after backing. Listen, Philippe Clement's doing a great job at Norwich, and I think that
fantastic, and they love him down there. But I mean, that's what we've seen at Rangers, Joshua. It's no surprise. I thought he would do well down there. I've got to say, he does get a tune out of players initially. It's whether they can sort of sustain that. But I wish him all the very best. I think he'll do a decent job down there.
Yeah, but I think the lesson, I totally agree. But the lesson from it is like things start to tail off when you have. I don't think like the football was bad domestically at the end, so I'm not being revisionist. And when Rangers lost that league title, I think the difference to Danny Rohl is if you go back to that day at Ross County where Rangers lose 3-2, instead of, I think he found the system and then he was too dogmatic and he stayed with it, and it was Fabio Silva on the wing and Dujon Sturl on the wing and Kieran Dowell and Tom Lawrence playing in deep midfield roles instead of going, right, we're going to tweak this slightly and get through. That's a difference, I think, to Danny Rohl this time, who changed his shape a lot. But also when it really went off a cliff was when you have no CEO and no chairman, and he's kind of running the football club. And I think he was a victim of circumstance. He also got more time because of that. I think he's doing a brilliant job at Norwich, and he was always great to deal with. And I think you see that probably in the reaction towards him too. There's a lot of goodwill. Yeah, it was a difficult time that he was at that. If you think back to the Hampden debacle and the
Shambles.
Rangers didn't have a lot of money that year, and
yeah,
not great.
Yeah, not great indeed. We'll wrap up shortly. This caught my eye from Rod. He says, Derek, what wee coffee are you drinking? It's a little espresso from my Diego Maradona cup. I don't know if you can see that. It's washed away a little bit, but there you go. Look at that. Diego Maradona.
You've done I've booked, and this is one for the viewers as well as we go off piece, but I've booked an Italian football weekend with my dad. So I'm looking for recommendations. So we're starting in Milan. We're just going to base ourselves in Milan for the weekend because I think you can get to a lot of the high-speed trains. You can get to like 6 or 7 stadiums. So we're going to try and do a Friday night, Saturday, Sunday game.
Wow.
So if anyone has any tips, let me know.
You'll need to go to San Siro. San Siro obviously.
Yeah, we're doing that. Yeah, we're doing that on I think Milan at home to Torino. So we should definitely get tickets. But looking forward to it. You've done a fair few games in Italy, haven't you?
I've been to just the Napoli Rangers game. I went to. I think that's. I've been outside at the Venice Stadium. Wasn't able to get inside at the time. They weren't playing it at the time, but that's been about it. But yeah, I'd love to go. I've actually been to the Stadio Olimpico. Went to see.
Me too.
Yeah, Roma against Napoli, which was good. And I definitely want to go into the San Siro before it gets bulldozed, which will be a crying shame. It's an iconic ground, of course. And then, other than that, I think there's Parma. I'd like to go to Parma. And Florence, Fiorentina, where, of course, Rangers defeated Fiorentina back in 2008 on those penalty kicks. So it's Italy is. I'm actually reading a book at the moment on Italian football and the glory days back in the late 80s and the 90s as well, when Football Italia was a thing, and there wasn't any better league anywhere in the world than that. But slightly envious of you. So you're going to Milan. Where else are you going to?
Oh, I don't know. We might go to, because they don't release the fixtures until a few weeks before. So I think it's definitely
Atalanta. Maybe that's pretty nearby.
Yeah.
Como, maybe
you've got Atalanta, Como. Como might be difficult to get tickets. I think Bologna and Genoa and Calgary, Verona and Turin. So you got a raft of options. So we're looking forward to it. But as I say, any tips, let me know.
Yeah, that'd be a cracking old trip. Right, tonight, Joshua, then, of course, we'll have all your usual coverage, folks, pre-match and post-match after the game. 8 o'clock kickoff, incidentally, so it's a late one. I think Rangers might be on the receiving end of a narrow defeat. I don't think they'll get hammered. I think they'll put up a good fight, but I think Porto's quality might just ring true in the end. I think I can see them maybe winning by the odd goal. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I predicted 3-0 at the weekend, and I'm not going to predict 3-0 Rangers this weekend or this midweek. I will say, what did you say, 2-1 or by a goal? Yeah, I think
whether they'll win by the odd goal. I think.
I think narrow defeat. Rangers have not conceded that many goals under Danny Rohl. I struggle to see it not being a 1-0 or a 2-0 to Porto. I must say, Rangers have had a habit of surprising us in Europe.
Yeah,
but if you look at the fact that Porto need to get into the top 8 as well, the fact that Rohl, he said he would rotate. We've obviously discussed that he doesn't have too many options to do that. I struggle to see Rangers picking up a second win of the competition, I must confess, Derek.
Yeah. Listen, I think the great 2-1-1 draws the last 2 trips have been to Porto, so I'd bite your hand off for that. What's the Estadio Dragao like? Looks like a magnificent old venue.
It's impressive. I was saying to another friend of the show, Wirral Ranger, on Twitter, he was asking if a tour was worth it. Or your friend of the show, he was asking if a tour was worth it, and I'd say it is, because obviously it's such a historic club, and even just like the tunnel, there's all the tributes to Diogo Jota's brother, is it Andre Jota? I can't remember his name. Pardon me, but amazing kind of tributes from the Porto fans as they laid out scarves and tops and a number of other pieces of memorabilia in the summer after that really sad news. And very steep media gantries and a very steep stand. Made me think automatically of that Morelos goal the Borna Barisic pass.
Yeah.
When and we were speaking about it yesterday. It was actually Luis Diaz who scored the goal for Porto that night against Rangers.
It was.
Rangers were in that red kit. So impressive stadium, and I expect that given what's at stake for Porto tonight, given how well they're doing and the connection they seem to have with Farioli, I expect it will be quite loud.
Yeah. Right, folks, we'll wrap up there for now. A big thank you to Joshua and to you all for interacting with the show. It's much appreciated. Remember, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, then now is the time to do so. Hit the like button. It helps us here at the channel as well. And we've still got on the website our introductory offer, £4 for 4 months. Head on over to Rangers Review rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to sign up. Right, we'll speak to you later ahead of the game. Until then, enjoy whatever you are up to. Bye for now.